The leaks for chapter 341 have just dropped, and I can't believe my eyes. In this video, we see an in-depth plan for Kunigami. However, we also see Barou straight up roasting Isagi and giving him a real reality check, which leaves him a bit lost. However, trust that the ending after that is just insane. But still, that's far from everything. But the rest I will keep a secret so as not to waste any time. Let's get right into it. Alright, so the chapter starts off with the text saying, "Daily fierce advancement. His physical body is what will drive Kunigami to the top." After that, we get back all the way to Igo's letter and his special training. In his letter, Igo told him that his answer lies within the battle, telling Kunigami to become the strongest warrior in physical combat. And a big part of that seems to be the boxing training that we got to see a small part of before. Anyway, Igo then explains that the special training he assigned to that guy, and by that guy he means Kunigami. Igo continues and says that it's the sense of distance or spacing, as it is also called, in offensive and defensive maneuvers found in mixed martial arts, and the thorough physical conditioning required to not be easily knocked down during physical contact. Those are obviously useful as a striker. They also become a versatile weapon in any position, which it sounds so cool whenever Igo is always explaining things. We then see Henri by his side, who lets out a little smile before asking Igo if he substituted Kunigami in as a defensive midfielder from the second half right. Igo tells Henri that she is correct, explaining that when utilizing Shidou and Barou simultaneously, they are prone to being hit by counters due to this attack-heavy formation. That's why for this match, Kunigami will put his body on the line and become the shield for any counterattack, ending it by saying that he needs Kunigami to become a defense tank. We then see Kunigami landing on the ground after his latest awesome defense work against Loki. And it's not just us who think that it's awesome, as we also see all of the supports being super excited for him as they start to scream his name and compliment him. We then move on to the ball, however, which previously soared through the sky, but it then lands in the hands of Barou, who is already in a battle against someone. But even then he jumps up, and he is determined to make it connect. We then see the commentator saying that here we go, offensive and defensive roles have reversed, explaining that it's a lightning-fast counterattack from Blue Lock Japan, which you can surely bet that it is, as we then right away see Barou sending the ball over to Hiyori, who catches it right away. However, we quickly move away from Hiyori surprisingly as we get to Isagi, who is eyeing Hiyori down. Isagi thinks that Igo's tactic is working. He gets out his metavision eyes as he is running down on the field and thinks that the core of their attacks is still Karasu. From behind that organization, he must focus on movements that strike at the opponent's blind spots. That is the blue lock design Igo has engineered, stating that it is a two-sided strategy for a second-half counterattack. We then leave our boy Isagi for a quick second as we get to Hiyori, who tells Ryo that he made a nice run as he then passes him. Ryo traps the ball with no issues at all, before telling Hiyori to leave it to him. We then see Isagi once again, who thinks that they are fighting back against France way better than they did in the first half, explaining that the opponents are definitely starting to hate this, which we sure can see, as we then see Leiden, who breathes out heavily and says that the intensity is brutal. We also have Gabin under him, who tells Leiden, or probably the whole team, to just keep up with the Blue Lock players. However, with that, we then move back to Isagi, and while he is running, he thinks about the one thing that's still bugging him. But sadly, that will have to wait as we then move over to Hugo, who goes right up to Ryo. Hugo straight up looks right in his eyes and tells him that he won't let him get away. Ryo looks annoyed right off the bat as he then tells Hugo that he is reading the field well and calls him Lash Boy, which honestly is a really underrated nickname from Ryo. After their conversation is over, we move back to Isagi as he continues his thoughts and says that the thing that was bothering him was the fact that he can't imagine a scenario where they win against Hugo. He tells himself that if he stays here as the team's number 2 and focuses completely on the linker or playmaking role, then the attack would be easier to carry out. Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? But still in that case, just as Hugo says, to win, he will become a player with the suitable aptitude. Isagi then thinks back to Igo and says that he isn't wishing for him to play a role like that. If he is going to live as the world's best striker, then he will find a new logic and a new theory to defeat Hugo with nothing else than his own goal. After that, we see Isagi's puzzle pieces starting to go around him like crazy, and he looks more manic than ever before, and I just have to come here and say that I love this, seeing Isagi this fired up again and aiming for his own goal in order to beat Hugo and proving him wrong. This is just peak cinema. Just then, to help him, a familiar face comes by. This time, it's Barou who tells Isagi that he is different from usual and calls him a scrub. Barou tells him with a moody tone that he can't smell the scent of a goal coming from Isagi at all. This leaves Isagi super shocked and caught off guard, but Barou then looks super intensely right at him and tells him that Igo's plan was for him to use Isagi's movements to aim for the goal. But after this, Barou is done, as Isagi is completely useless. He tells Isagi straight up that in this match he isn't even the king, and honestly, coming from Barou, that would have broken me, not gonna lie. Isagi then looks super lost and thinks that he noticed it intuitively, explaining that the vulnerability in his vision, or rather the future. After that, we see Barou becoming an absolute unit as he starts to charge up on the field, as he says that it's a prey change, and that the opponent he is going to devour is too wild to search for. And what that means right away I have no clue, but I can tell you that it sounds insane. With that out of the way, we see a small crow before seeing KARASU standing in the middle of the field. KARASU says that he and Isagi are alike. They both have the same football intelligence, and they both have a kindred spirit who came to Blue Lock carrying the same anxieties. KARASU continues and says that he also originally was a person who felt the gap of that dissonance between his true desire to live as a striker and the role that the team needed him to play. What he wanted to do and what he can do himself are different. He understands that very well himself. His characteristics are keeping the ball in the midfield, maintaining balance and building up the attack. That makes him suited to be a midfielder. Even so, if he couldn't fulfill his dream of being a striker, he fought his way here thinking that he wanted to survive in Blue Lock. But still, little by little, the gap between him and Isagi was widening. Before he knew it, Isagi was a striker at the very center of it all, and KARASU had been thinking about it all this time, thinking about what it is that Isagi has that he doesn't, explaining that if he keeps clinging onto Blue Lock like this, will the moment ever come when he sees the light of day? KARASU says that it was frustrating, but he was buried in the shadow. KARASU, however, is far from stopping to yap, so he continues and says that he is grateful to Igo for bringing him to such a stage. But is Igo's philosophy really what he needs right now? That is what he kept thinking about. That's also why Hugo's words pierced right through him. More specifically when Hugo said that if you live your life as the second best, then Blue Lock can still become stronger. After that, it looks like KARASU is completely locking in, as he has his metavision eyes out, and he explains that he now understands it, and that a Blue Lock where Isagi is number 1 has reached its limits. After that, he screams towards Ryo to pass the ball. Ryo manages to break free from Hugo and passes the ball to KARASU and tells him that he made a nice follow with the ball now in his hands. KARASU thinks that in that case, with him as a number 2, he will make Blue Lock reborn. We then also get a quick panel from Hugo, who looks at him and says that just as he thought, he is good. After that, we move back to KARASU, who thinks that he doesn't think that this kind of fighting is the final answer to everything. But for now, this is a choice for a future where he gives up on becoming the world's number 1, which is kind of sad. I'm not even going to lie, but at the end of the day, it's what Blue Lock needs. We then see Aiku smirking and calling it a nice setup. We also see Barou, who tells KARASU to pass it. And lastly, we have Hiyori, who tells him to go and calls him KARASU Birdie. With that, KARASU actually starts to somewhat transform, as he thinks that if he can create a goal here, then he can beat Isagi, and he can flip everything on its head. With that, he kicks away the ball, and explains that Blue Lock is becoming KARASU's team. We then also see Isagi's reaction to this, as he looks a bit shocked before saying that it's a vertical pass, with exquisite timing. We then see KARASU having a bit of a creepy smile, as he says that someone is the only one who is incomprehensible and impossible to handle. And his trump card is none other than the demon, who of course is Shidou, who traps the ball flawlessly. With that, Shidou starts to smirk and asks if they are all pent up and says that his egoism is popping, which is crazy to think that Shidou finally has the ball now and is going to go right to the goal most likely, and to end it right here feels awful. But sadly, we have nothing more. The ending text says, "The long-awaited time of liberation, unleash your max desire." However, I can announce that there is no break next week, which is awesome, and the next chapter will be called Reunion, which could be something about Shidou's special training, but if not, then I have no idea what it could mean. Let me know if you have any ideas on what it could mean, and also let me know what you thought about today's leaks, as I personally thought that they were some of the most interesting and insane leaks that we have gotten in a long while, as there was so much stuff getting dropped in this one. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like. Also, if you can hype the video down below, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.